Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my fellow YouTubers and Facebookians. Welcome to another edition of Living Simply and Fun. I'm your host, uh, Aries, aka Rita, and this is Joe Bob McGee, aka Aaron. Just joking. I like to make a joke once in a while. His family's from Kentucky, so sometimes I think of him as a redneck, but truthfully, he's a really sweet, sweet guy. Today's subject is going to be interesting for me because it has to do with helping out, as well as it talks about something that I want to vent about a little bit. It's called living your life to the fullest and living your life happily. Now, first of all, I want to say something to someone. There's someone out there that's really pissing me off, and they're not allowing this little sweetie here to live his life to the fullest. That's the first thing I want to say. The jack off, no
We'll
offense.
talk more about that
Tomorrow, but I'm venting on it. You see, he doesn't want Aaron to live his life to the fullest. This guy wants to control Aaron. Now me, my thing is this. To live life to the fullest, you must live your life. If you have hobbies, take it up. If you say something to someone like this guy here, I say, oh, I want to take up a little more reading in the winter time. He says, go for it. Reading's enjoyable. If I want to study for something, he says, hey, I know you can handle it. He doesn't try to put anyone down. There's a lot of people out there that put you down. They reverse things. They say stuff. And sometimes, if you don't live life to the fullest and you're living someone else's life, you are literally miserable. You're living your life not to the fullest. Go ahead.
Well, what I wanted to say is actually living life to one's fullest is actually a very complicated process. For one of the things about living your life to the fullest is enjoying life. And if you have all sorts of negativity swirling around your life, it's kind of hard to enjoy your life. That's why you need to be polite to people you meet, because if anybody yells at you, whatever, that's a form of negativity and it's going to bring you down. If you make somebody unhappy, it's a form of negativity and it's going to bring you down. If somebody starts dictating things to you and telling you how to do things, that's negativity and it's going to bring you down. And although you may want to try to make everyone happy, it's still a lesson I'm learning that you really can't make everyone happy. Because there are people out there who have such arrogance in their own life that they think that they can control and manipulate you. They think that they're constantly right. And no matter how hard you try to be nice to these people, they continue with it. But I'll talk more about that tomorrow. But yeah, getting rid of negativity in your life, making sure that you're always nice and polite and kind and caring are good things. They will actually make you feel better. When you do something nice or you smile at somebody who may seem like they never get smiled at, it's something that can make you feel good. Another thing towards living your life is doing what you want to do. There's limits to what you can do and can't do. I mean, if you want to get into woodwork, you really have to be able to do it yourself. You can't just sit there and tell somebody else to start cutting wood for you or give you wood that you can carve. You need to go out and get it yourself, and you need to do it through proper channels. You can't just walk into your neighbor's yard and cut down their front tree.
I did that one year, but it was... story goes with my stepfather. I wanted my own personal Christmas tree, so I went in the front yard, cut it down. My mother had to go and replace it with a little baby sapling. Now it's huge, but back then I just took the saw thinking I was getting my own homemade Christmas tree. Well, let me tell you, I got a butt whooping for that one.
See, just going and taking somebody else's stuff, or even going by a construction site and just raiding some wood from them,
could be considered stealing.
You might make somebody upset, or maybe somebody will come into work the next day and be looking for the scrap wood that was there because they needed to use the scrap wood for a project at the job. And it's like, well, I need a smaller piece to fit here, and wait, where's all the scrap wood? So you end up making life miserable for another, even though that wasn't your intention. And these things, that's where guilt comes in, because you sit there and think after you get home and you're working on it, even subconsciously, what if somebody needed this and I just took it from them? And even though it's not something where you're probably going to go up to them and say, sorry, I took the wood and I used it, it's still going to eat at you just a bit. So you want to enjoy life and you want to do woodwork, then go about getting wood in a legitimate way. Maybe go to your neighbors and say, hey, do you have any spare wood around that I can use? If they give it to you, then you can say thank you very much and give them a big smile and say, this really means a lot to me. I had this woodworking project I wanted to attempt and I didn't have any wood, so I greatly appreciate it. That's going to make you feel good, and it's going to make them feel good for having done it. If, for instance, you have a lot of bills in your life, bills are no fun for anyone. And it really hampers enjoying one's life. So the best thing to do is attempt not to end up getting any bills. And too many people out there these days, they sit there and say, oh, well, I need a new riding lawnmower, and I can't afford a new riding lawnmower, so I'm going to put it on my credit card. And then they start building up a credit card debt, and then they end up having to take a mortgage on their house to pay their credit card debt, or who knows what. And they do it for cars, too. Actually, if you want to enjoy your life to the fullest, one of the things to probably do is not drive a car, but to walk wherever you're going and take public transportation. It is a minor hindrance, but at the same time, you don't have to worry about car insurance, car payments, or damaging your car and having to pay somebody else's insurance after you were in an accident because, you know, you turned right and you weren't paying attention and you dinged a car, you know. You're not going to end up having to deal with cops saying, well, you were speeding because you're depending on say, the public transportation. That's up to the bus driver. The bus driver speeds, you just sit there while the bus driver gets a ticket, you know. But that rarely happens because bus drivers actually follow those things and they could lose their job for it. So you're pretty much safer and going to be happier in the long run taking the bus and walking, which means being in a city with a good bus line and where things are in walking distance, which the country doesn't help with. That being in a larger city also gives you job opportunities because there's more places around. And one thing of living happily too is if you are going to have a job, which most people do, then one thing to do is remember to leave your personality and any baggage that you have with you at home. Doing so will end up making it so that you get along better with your coworkers and boss, and they may not know the real you, but at least you're holding your job and nobody's upset at you, nobody's mad at you, everybody likes you. It may be being a false person, but at the same time, the real person is one who just wants to enjoy their life. So if you're doing it that way, then you are being yourself because you're doing that to enjoy your life and be who you are.
The thing I wanted to say is when you live life, you're supposed to live your life. You're not supposed to have someone dictate to you, like, what you can or can't do, where you're going to live, where you're going to eat. I mean, if you have no family, you got to stay with your family. But if you have people out there that's willing to help you and get you on your feet and make some type of sacrifice to also help, then it's all worth it. But you got to remember, it's mostly, as my therapist once said, environmental. If it's the environment, you need to change your environment, and then you're fine. I mean...
But it can actually be really difficult to change one's environment. It might be a long-term plan, but what you need to do is figure out how you're going to obtain that long-term plan. For instance, if I wanted to move, one of the things I'm going to have to do is stash aside cash to be able to afford to take trips. Because I'm going to have to leave the city to go to an apartment where I want to look at moving, do an interview with them, and then maybe 2 months later than that, or a month after that, then I'm going to have to end up getting tickets again to actually move. Various things like sacrifice what you're going to cut out. You might want to start planning this and maybe even start downgrading your stuff, giving things away to people that you know because you want to make sure that that possession's taken care of by someone who will appreciate it. Or maybe give it to you later, put things in storage. Maybe you want to think about getting a storage locker. And for instance, doing research on the places you want to go. I mean, bigger cities, there is a problem. There's a lot of bad neighborhoods in bigger cities, so you want to make sure that you're not getting into one of the bad neighborhoods. And that takes a lot of work to do. And if you don't have a job and you don't have any income of any sort, then you're probably going to have to try to figure out what job to do and maybe bite the bullet and do one you don't necessarily want to do just so you have some income, so you can afford to do what you do want to do.
There's another thing I want to say about living your life to the fullest. Now, being disabled, I can't say this that often because, you know, I have income coming in, but there's people out there that sit there and, you know, they sit there and they live with their parents and, you know, they're leeching off their parents, yet they're not paying any rent. It's like, well, you should, if you're staying with your parents...
And you're over the age of 16 or 18 and you're out of school, you probably should be paying some rent.
Yeah, because you got bills, water bill, electric bill, gas bill, etc.
I paid rent to Rita's mother when I moved in, and
thing is I know a couple people out there, and there's another thing I want to say is I was talking to a friend of mine, Heather, and she was talking about promises on certain things. I don't know if I told you this, but Angela made a promise to her sister to travel the world. Yet, as you know, Angela wants to engulf herself into video games. But anyways, Angela is a sweetheart. The apartment thing that she's applied for, if all goes well, it's still going to be an interesting thing for Angela to have her own place because, well, it's an apartment. But also, it will mean 1/3 less.
Another thing about
income.
living your life to the fullest, and I think this is what Rita's getting at, is experiences.
Exactly.
If you sit around on your couch all day, you're seeing the same four walls, the same couch, the same fabric. The TV show might be different, but that's it. You're not really getting a personal experience. But let's say you decide to go walking through a nature trail and stuff, and you see a stream that's like the most magnificent stream you've ever seen. That's a memory that's going to stick in your head. Going to a place like Cedar Point and riding roller coasters might be a memory that'll stick with you forever. Heck, it doesn't have to cost money, as I just said, with like nature streams and stuff. Or
I was
backpacking.
looking to relocate, for example, to near a national park so I could walk there, like in Montana, so I could just walk there.
The friends we meet or the activities we do are all experiences.
Like, for example, here's an experience. Had to put up with Aaron here grumping about it in 2008 or 2000. Yeah, it was 2008 when his grandmother died, bless her soul. On our way back, I made some great experiences getting drunk on a train with many people, and let me tell you, that was pretty damn fun.
Yep.
Wouldn't have done it anyways. Breaking the train rules was pretty bad and pretty fun too.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that the other day because we were at Olive Garden. One of the guys who was on the bus that Rita got drunk with was a cook at Olive Garden, and at the Olive Garden we went to. It was kind of nice to meet somebody so close to home. Because we met them all the way back in like the Cleveland or Chicago area. I can't remember which, but that was kind of
we were going there. Remember, he was the one that had the pothead smoking in the bathroom.
That was on the way back.
It was?
Yeah, it was on the way back. You drank the Macallans with
them.
Islay.
Oh, yes.
And you did that on the way back.
Yeah,
but Rita got experience also when we went to Kentucky because she tried mutton for her first time.
Yeah, I want to go back for Mutton Fest. We're going to try to do it in 2015. That's one of our goals.
She got to try Sonic for her first time when we were in Kentucky.
Yeah. Excuse me, sir. Can you get a quart for her? Sell her one at a gas station.
And we get to look back at that and laugh, so that was an interesting experience.
Yeah, too much gas, in my opinion, with those hot dogs, those foot-long jumbo dogs.
She got to meet some of my family there, so not much of them.
Yeah, and this every time I turned around, I was trying to be polite to this minister, who was living in Thailand. He knew about transgendered people. Yeah, every time I offered him a cigar, it's like, no, you keep them.
In Cleveland, we had plenty of experiences. One time at my dad's coffee shop, we ended up meeting up this guy who seemed homeless, and he begged us for sardines and stuff. And
so we got 5 cans of sardines.
Then he wouldn't leave us alone, and he was trying to get our phone number and seeing if we'd have a night of fun with him. And we ended up having to ditch him, and he ended up having the police called on him because he started harassing other people. And it was kind of a crazy night there. We met a guy at the Walmart there near the coffee shop that had just been in a car accident and managed to survive even though the car rolled 5 times. And it was kind of amazing to hear his story. We ended up going to a concert, a choir concert for one of my dad's coffee friends, and that was kind of an interesting experience too. There's all sorts of things that can happen to you in your life, but if you stay inside with your 4 walls and you don't meet anybody and you don't go and live your life and go out and do things, you're never going to have any experiences other than what you see on TV, and anybody can get those experiences.
Here's what I could experience. I gave a cigar to his dad. His dad turned green as green can be, like a greenhorn or a puke green. It was like face and everything, all because the cigar was like this long It was like huge.
I mean, sometimes our experiences aren't good. There is a time that, but it's still an experience that we can have. I ended up having a problem with my leg when I was living over in Linwood, Woodinville, Washington, on the coast, and Rita was pushing me around town, and we'd been at Applebee's or whatever, and she was tipping a few back. And walking back, she tried to go around a telephone pole and wasn't paying attention and dumped me right into a busy street. And I still laugh about that because I nearly got creamed, but I didn't.
How's that? God didn't want that. Or how's this for an experience since we're talking about it? Time him and Mom tried to figure me out, and I was over at Applebee's kicking back a few, after a therapy appointment
or another one of those appointments we ended up going to. We ended up going down to a place called Scriber Lake, and walking around there, we saw this giant Huron just sitting there, and we watched it until some
jackwagon
decided to come up and try to shoo it away. And it's like, geez, that bird had like an 8-foot wingspan, and it was like 3 feet tall, and it was just standing there on one leg looking around, and it was a beautiful sight to see.
Then he had some old geezer. Oh, what about the same time when we asked someone else at Scriber Lake Park about the little rabbits that were running around?
Yeah.
That was really cool, too.
Yeah, we ended up seeing some rabbits there, and I mean, those are experiences I don't want to trade because they're good memories and they were fun, and it was something we got to go do. And so part of living your life is going out and gathering your own experiences, not somebody else's, not some that are scripted and acted out by other people.
Well, it's like...
Yeah, it's kind of nice at times to escape reality. Because sometimes when stress is building up in our head and there's just so much going on in our life, sometimes we need that escape to just get away from it all. And sometimes it's nice to be able to fantasize that you're somebody else living in a different world. Rita and me just got done watching some anime. And we were watching Rosario Vampire and Sekirei. And for a while watching Rosario Vampire, I'm sitting there wondering what it'd be like to go to Yokai Academy and having all these monsters around you and actually being a human there. I know that it gives a person like me who can kind of relate to the main character because they're so shy, and yet there's people who want to know them, and I've always wished in a way that people would want to know me, or at least a woman would come and make passes at me because I'm afraid to do so. So it gives me a chance to kind of fantasize about what I would wish would happen, but it's not going to happen. Women don't go and chase men. It just doesn't happen very often. But living your life to the fullest does mean sometimes you might have to escape reality. Just for a moment, just for a while. Maybe it's watching a TV show like CSI, or maybe it's playing a video game like Harvest Moon, as Angela's playing, or Skyrim like we've been playing when we do, but right now we've been watching movies and trying to learn things about history at the same time, and watch classic movies that have been,
Well, for example, here's something for an example and experience. I grew up watching whatever my mom wanted on VHS, and I could never argue with her because her boyfriend was an abusive a-hole at times when it came to things. Well, growing up, I sit there now and my mom's not around, and I enjoy the old black and whites from the 1930s and 40s. When people sit there and say, oh, well, that's not modern. It doesn't need to be modern. It needs to be,
who needs modern? What it is the story good, and is it one that sits there and makes you think, or is it a story that sits there and gives you some ideas of things that maybe you want to do in your own life, or at least does it help you break away from the binds of the normal daily tedium? That's the truth of the matter, is does it help you? It doesn't matter if it's black and white or if it's got crap loads of CGI in it. It doesn't matter if it's animated or whether it's a silent movie.
Here's what LeVar Burton said when he asked a child, the LeVar Burton being...
Reading Rainbow.
Reading Rainbow, yes, exactly. And Star Trek's Geordie LaForge. Anyways, he did Reading Rainbow.
I preferred him in Reading Rainbow.
I was going to say something. He asked a kid in Reading Rainbow, what's the most important thing for books? And the kid said, picturing and imagining in the experiences of reading it and being there inside the book.
Exactly. Yeah. So sometimes that's what escape is. When people play video games, it's because they're living another life at that moment. Like in Skyrim, it's like wandering around and collecting the herbs and stuff, and it's actually you playing. You're the character. You're not playing as some fictional character when you're in it and you're really engulfed in it. Or like other games like Harvest Moon or whatever. you're playing that character, and that's why I can't really do first-person shooters much because I don't want to live that life. I don't want to shoot people. I don't want to be in war.
I was telling Aaron the other day, as
war
you all
is
heard
something
me,
that does not make me happy. So why am I going to enjoy engulfing myself?
You all heard me once before in the past about first-person shooters. I used to love them, but they're getting out of hand where you're either killing Germans, Jews, Muslims, or Arabs. Some of these newer technology advanced games like Call of Duty or Modern Warfare 4 or Battlefield 4, it's all about
or Call of Duty
Arabs.
Ghost, which my friend's doing right now, and I've known him since he was 13 years old, but I'm this close to blowing him off, and that's why I'm doing tomorrow's video about what do you do with somebody who's close to you that you just cannot be around anymore. And I really want to talk about that because his talk is actually hurting me at this point.
Hurts me too,
And
truthfully.
because of that, it seems that maybe it's time to blow him off. In fact, I ignored our phone call today, and I'm sure he's upset.
Probably sitting there glued to it while playing Ghost.
But I don't
after
care.
The phone.
I didn't want to get into a shouting match with him today, and he's been illogical. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. We should wrap this up.
So anyways, the other thing is the one I wanted to say before we wrap this up is to anyone out there watching this video, whether you have a brother, a sister, a mother, a father, a grandmother, or etc., you live your life. You don't dictate to others what they can and can't do. I've heard several people in the world say, well, I can't do this because I got that, or I can't do this because I got that. And then you ask the other person, they're like, well, they can't do this because, well, they did this, or, oh, they don't like that, or whatever. The thing is what you think and what that person thinks is two different stories.
And it doesn't matter if you're poor. You can still find a life to live and enjoy. It doesn't necessarily cost money. Some people's dreams might include tons of money, but...
is money everything? No, money's the root of all evil.
It can technically buy you entertainment, though. You can end up getting season tickets for every sports team in your town and just show up when you feel like it if you're rich, You can end up driving a fast car on the racetrack with nobody else there because you pay for it. You can end up going on trips all over the world and go see Rome and Paris and Italy and, whatever you want, Moscow, Tokyo. And you can do all these things with money, but you don't need to have all the money to enjoy your life. There's still parks in the area. There's still water places. There's still fishing. There's still experiences that you can experience.
You can experience a lot even if you're poor. Even in a situation like you said, state parks, national parks. If you find a way to live near a state park or national park, think of it. You got your hiking, your hunting, and your fishing all conglomerated in there. Look at the map right behind me. The map behind me is Montana, and there's a lot of national parks there.
And what are you going to do technically if you do go to Rome? You get to see some old ruins you've already
Then you go to the Vatican and see the Pope going.
So you get to go to, say, Rome, and you get to see some old ruins of, like, the Colosseum, I forgot the name of it now, the...
Leaning Tower of Pisa.
That's there, too, and I'm thinking about that famous fountain. It's like the Trevi Fountain or something.
Never heard of it.
And anyways, you could go and see all these things in person, but you know what? You can see pictures of them online, so... The only difference is what experience are you going to have there in person that you can't have by looking at some pictures and getting them in your head. You can still fantasize by looking at things on pictures. Going there, you can touch these things. Yeah, that's great, but the experiences would be what people do you meet, and can you speak Italian? And if you can't speak Italian, are you going to run into somebody who does speak English that says, here, let me show you the real tour of the town. That might be something that's an experience, but most people that are rich who have these monies, then they go on these trips, they're not looking for the experiences with people. It's like, oh yes, this museum, I was through the museum, it was a beautiful museum, and I went and saw these ruins, and I got some pictures. Great, you got some pictures, and you were there, but what experience did you really have?
I had a story about museums. I knew people that kept saying they went to certain museums in Russia. The Summer Palace, the Winter Palace, and etc. There are museums now. So I said, how far did you get? Because they let you go through the entire palace. To go through the entire palace, both palaces take about a month because they're just so enormous. Bigger than the White House, apparently. And it's just purely picture frames and like vases and
Yeah.
You gotta. Yeah, the thing is the experience. Yes, I know. The experience is you have to take it all in, and to take it all in, it could take you a long time. It's not like Disneyland, right, Aaron?
Well, frankly, we can all go out our back door and experience something new in our backyard every day.
Exactly.
Might notice something we never noticed before. Maybe a butterfly just flew past, and it's like you stare at it for a while, transfixed. It, just to enjoy life really means letting your cares go, letting your worries go, letting your fears go, and finding a way to actually be able to smile every day and make other people smile, because when you make others smile, you smile too.
He has no cares.
And if
in the
somebody
world.
doesn't want to smile and all they want to do is try to tear you down because you're trying to enjoy your life, maybe it's time to smile and wave goodbye. That's what I'm thinking I'm going to have to do with my friend, because he does not seem to want me to enjoy my life at all. In fact, he wants to try to rip me apart, tear me down, insult me, and tell me I'm lying constantly. All because, and I'll give you a brief here, even though I'm way past when I wanted to get it done here. He decided to tell me that I was lying because I could have talked to my neighbor at any time about getting a ride to Wenatchee, because she said she wanted to go. But we ended up having a snowstorm that came in, and I wasn't positive she was going to go. Some people, they get scared of snow. They sit there and they say, well, the roads are bad, I can't go out. I'm not going to risk getting in an accident.
We're in the desert,
and
by the
that's
way.
45 miles away. Do you really want to end up having your car conk out on the side of the road while it's freezing cold and there's snow? No, you don't. So sometimes you decide for the better part of judgment not to do something. Well, because I couldn't give him a straight answer 4 days beforehand of whether I talked to him on Thursday, he decided to start ripping me apart, and every time I tried to explain to him why I didn't know for certain yet, he's like, well, I don't want to know all that. I just want to know, can I talk to you? Well, I don't know if you can talk to me yet. Well, I want to know. Well, I don't know. You're lying. You could talk to her at any time. So on the day of, I said, I talked to her, she is going. And he says, look, see how effing easy that was? You're a GD and liar, blah, blah, blah. You could have talked to her at any time. You finally talked to her, and now you have your answer. Stop making excuses. I'm sorry, I wasn't making excuses. He just didn't want to hear everything I had to say because he wanted an answer now. But that's just part of what's going on. You'll hear the rest tomorrow.
But anyways, my bottom line is this. Live your life to the fullest. Don't let anyone dictate to you. And if it's an environmental thing and you're unhappy of your life, fix it. It's a simple fix.
Exactly.
Look at the big picture. Pull it out. Do some soul searching, etc. In the end, everything will work out.
Find what makes you happy and find a way to obtain that for yourself.
Exactly. And don't dwell on these things.
If you want your own TV so that you can watch what you want to watch when you want to watch it, then and you only have one TV in your parents' house, then find a way to get a TV, even if it means getting a job. And if it means getting a job, maybe you'll have to end up kind of acting differently than you usually do just to hold the job. Or maybe you'll end up having to do something you don't want to do. Like I had an uncle who didn't want to work and he wouldn't take a job beneath him, but finally they ran out of money essentially after being millionaires. And he pissed it all away in a hot tub drinking wine all day.
Fine wines.
Exactly. He finally took a job trying to sell Columbus, Ohio to people, and he hates the city of Columbus. That's amazing that he's trying to sell a city that he cannot stand. But that's the job he ended up getting. And sometimes we got to take a job beneath us. My friend says he won't take another job behind working, except for like moving companies and gas stations.
Same guy's talking
or radio
about,
shows
tomorrow.
because he's a DJ. And he won't take a job in a McDonald's, Wendy's, or Walmart. He insults those places and says they aren't real places. So
he also says Walmart ain't a good store, a greedy a-hole company too.
I mean, maybe you don't want to be a potato picker, but maybe that's the best job you can get at the time. Do it. At least it's money. It's something to do.
So,
and I can talk about it because I did work for 10 years of my life, and I did always have a job during those 10 years, except for a 6-month gap. And I'd rather not go into that.
So anyways, like I said, let people not dictate to you. Live your life to the fullest, and realize that if your life is hurting, it's because most likely what has happened is you let it get to you, whether it be family, friends, etc. Just pull yourself together, fix it, and you'll be fine. And just remember, sometimes like my friend Heather, her sister made a promise. Sometimes, you know, for example, Heather might be upset or depressed at Angela. Thing is you got to live your life to the fullest, not hers. And if you want to go traveling the world, go for it. Even if you know deep down that things aren't going to happen with your sister. It'll be fine in time. For the rest of you, live your life to the fullest. Be happy. Enjoy your hobbies. And
one final word for me, if you want to live your life to the fullest, if it includes somebody else, remember you're keeping them from living their life to the fullest. So don't hold other people back for your own needs, because that's selfishness.
Thank you. That's what I was just going to say. That's what something's going on at times. Live your life, not theirs. That said, please add and subscribe if you like. Please post comments in the box if you like. And please add us as a friend if you like. Please post suggestions and comments as well. Thank you, and look for tomorrow's video.